Hey everyone, Arthur here, back with another one of these, full of delightful games that are yet to receive their due recognition. Thank you so much for watching. I'm trying to operate using the value for value model. If you enjoy the channel's mission of bringing light to games left in the dark, do consider supporting it on Patreon or with a one-time donation with the super thanks here on YouTube. Think of it like a tip, or simply by engaging, sharing, subscribing. All of those help a lot too. Alright, let's get to the list. Welcome to the channel. This is From the Void. One of my favorites on today's list, cause what a fantastic game, is Evil Tonight. Evil Tonight is a mix of gorgeous Golden Age end of generation SNES graphics with Resident Evil gameplay, and what a bold idea, cause those two things were not together back in the day, but they mix so very well. It's not tank controls, by the way. Instead you can toggle between movement stance or combat stance by pressing one of the shoulder buttons. Combat mode locks you into a direction and you can dodge and strafe to any other direction while always looking straight in order to shoot and use melee weapons effectively. Exploration is a total blast here, real well made, full of locked doors and puzzle solving, and a strong need to scavenge for bullets and other resources, cause this is a hard game, survival like all the way. It doesn't feel so at first because the controls are super well responsive and a fluid, fast-paced combat, but enemy behaviors soon become wild and hard to predict in a good way. The difficulty is incredibly well balanced while still leaning more to the challenging side, as it's typical for survival horror games. Anyways, bottom line, Evil Tonight is a brilliant game, not to be missed, so do check it out. A fantastic game that needs more recognition is Tiny Terry's Turbo Trip. Some of you may know this because it's a Super Rare Games original, so they've been advertising this to Super Rare newsletter subscribers, and it will probably get a physical release from them soon, similar to what happened to Cavern of Dreams. But for almost everyone else, I'm pretty sure that this has flown under the radar. A real shame, because this is a fantastic game. It's real funny, with lots of hilarious interactions, because all the characters here are really eccentric. The gameplay is delightful, 3D adventure all the way, collectathon style, grab many different things, use several different items, talk to the quirky townspeople, do varied and amusing missions for them, all with the ultimate goal of getting yourself a lot of junk for your car to somehow use that to go to space. Yeah, car plus junk equals space. I'm not telling you how. Go play the game and have a wonderful time. Next is the meticulously well-crafted Janosik 2. Before you ask, from what I could gather, there is no Janosik 1. Or rather, Janosik 1 is the demo or prologue to 2, but also completely included in the beginning of 2, so you can safely go straight into this. Weird, I know. But okay, this game is really cool. It does have a Metroidvania structure, but it's divided into stages too. Each stage is rather big and there are dozens of them. Seriously, this is a massive game and wildly fun. Gameplay is fast and fluid. You count with several different characters with different weapons and skills, which are really cool to use, and the game is all about exploration and finding of secrets, including secrets inside secrets, which are the best kinds of secrets. It's a joy to move around, do the platforming, avoid devious traps, defeat the fun bosses. I mean, yeah, this is fun. That's the best word to describe it. Janosik 2, excellent game. Next is a seriously cool turn-based RPG called Death Howl. Okay, this is a deck builder. I realize this may be a turn-off for some, but it seriously provides a great turn-based gameplay here. The setting is haunting. You control a mother searching for her son in a kind of a afterlife limbo of some kind. I love the atmosphere with the interesting color palette and the beautiful pixel art here. Excellent presentation. The gameplay is both about exploring the locations for resources with which you can craft more cards. There is a lot of strategy here as the cards are wildly varied, usually providing a perk and a detriment at the same time. The turn-based combat is much more involved than most deck builders I've played, by requiring you to move your character during the battles and use the environment in your favor. So yeah, seriously, this is superb. Death Howl, fantastic game. Currently out in a demo form, but about to come out in a few months, so keep an eye out for this one. Next we got a Tony Hawk style game coupled with hack and slash action for a frenetic fun gameplay, definitely worth a highlight. This is Helskate. Okay, Helskate and old school Tony Hawk games for that matter are janky, okay? Let's not beat around the bush here. There are all kinds of visually unimpressive things like clipping, a lot of wonky physics, and a complex control scheme that uses a lot of buttons and can be frustrating for a good amount of time, especially to reach higher platforms while skating. That's all true for Helskate, and the addition of hack and slash combat increases the jank even further. So be mindful of that. You have to have a high tolerance for jank to enjoy this. If you get past that, you will see that the development team had their priorities straight and made sure this is a fully functional game despite not looking great most of the time. Combat while skating is not a simple premise, but they made it work by making enemies' actions show an area of damage before they are activated, giving you time to prepare and react. You also have a good amount of skills, which help in the combat a lot, and everything is customizable. This is great, but another potential problem: the gameplay loop is roguelike. Your skills reset every time, but several improvements can be kept by acquiring them in the main hub. The actual skating gameplay feels great, very similar to Tony Hawk games. So long story short, this is a wonky game and a roguelike, but can be real fun for the right audience. Moving on to Undead West. Is an easy one to explain. It's a twin-stick shooter roguelike, very straightforward. You control a gunslinger who keeps on gunslinging even after he dies. The gameplay is very solid and simple, several different weapons to unlock and upgrade that shoot in different patterns, rates, and with different clip sizes. You get a roll dodge and a special whiskey bottle from the Beyond that makes you immune for a little while, so those are the extra gimmicky things for the gameplay. But the best thing about the game is the pace. It's not very frenetic, it is instead slower while still presenting quite a challenge at any time. Enemies can easily overwhelm you and chip away all your health in seconds, so the resulting gameplay is one that requires nerves of steel. I think that's the best description for the game. That's what Undead West felt like, and I loved it. After each boss fight, you get a health and whiskey upgrade, as well as one of 3 perks to choose that improve many different things. Typical roguelike stuff there. You can carry over coins that can be exchanged for new weapons and other permanent upgrades. Great game here that excels within its simplicity. Moving on to a small, short, and sweet little game called Annalyn. This is 100% an arcade kind of game. We've been seeing a resurgence of those with several cool entries like Donut Dodo, and Annalyn is just like Pac-Man. Grab all the riches to clear a stage, including the big rubies, which turn the tables on the snake enemies, who will then run from you. There are bonus items, a whole bunch of in-game achievements that make the game even more interesting, and even a boss fight in the end. Controls are smooth, it differs from Pac-Man here as this is a platformer, and yeah, that's it. Not anything else to say here, just a simple but excellent arcade game. Annalyn, try it out. Another highlight this time goes to the Gunk. This is beautiful. The Gunk creates a mesmerizing alien world, lush and vibrant, but heavily contaminated by the titular Gunk, a consuming force that sucks the life out of plants and animals of all kinds. But conveniently, the main character has a mechanical arm capable of sucking in the Gunk and getting rid of it entirely. So you go around exploring for resources, cleaning places from the black blobs, and witnessing huge areas come back to life, which is a spectacle every time. Combat-wise, there is little of it. The game is more about exploring, cleaning the Gunk, and doing light environmental puzzle solving. The light combat there is takes a considerable time to develop, but there are a few enemies that do pose a threat later on by making it hard for you to approach them to suck them in. Many will dislike the unimpressive combat, but for those of you who appreciate exploration and light adventuring in beautiful scenarios, this is a high quality game that should impress. And now we are taking a look at a fine example of a 3D platformer, which is a very nostalgic genre for many and a not very explored one by game developers as of today. This is Ruffy and the Riverside. This is great. I love the playful graphics, the cartoonish characters, and even the Banjo-Kazooie gibberish voices, which are really well made, because those can be a nuisance if not handled right. This is easy to explain gameplay-wise. Run, jump, explore. Stages are structured in a Super Mario 64 way. Every time you enter a stage, you can search for a different star in a sandbox area full of stuff. And on top of all that, the game has two extra gameplay gimmicks. One is how you can extract elements and colors from almost everything in the world, and paint or change the nature of several other things, which introduces a nice puzzle-like mechanism to the game. And the second one is the rolling thing, which the demo only uses once, but seems really cool too. What I appreciated the most here was the world of Riverside, a real throwback to the 3D platformer classics. This is coming out in a couple of months, so get ready. Now another very obscure title, and this lists retro entry. PlayStation 2's Tsugunai Atonement. This game is really something else. I realize it looks ugly, but everything else is excellent. This is a turn-based RPG with a simple but very engaging battle system where in enemy turns, you will manually input your character's defense, having to press the button at the right time, and you can choose from 4 different types of defenses too. And defending is required to reduce the damage drastically, especially in boss fights. So this effectively gets rid of the usual tediousness of battles in old-school turn-based RPGs, but the main aspect of the game is the setting, really unusual and unique. The protagonist has its body and soul split apart, so you're pretty much a ghost in this game, although your body is not really dead, just in a comatose state. And as a ghost, you will be able to possess other people that are being afflicted by a powerful negative feeling. Then you help them out in several different types of ways in order to be able to return to your body once you help out enough people. I know that this sounds really weird, and it is, no question, but trust me, it actually translates into a great gameplay, especially if you stick with it, because of the outstanding pacing of the game. So it's hard to put this one down. It's incredible. This is a great game for sure, a true hidden gem, but I guess enough people have been realizing this because the price has sharply increased in recent times, making the physicals prohibitive for a lot of people, unfortunately. Next is a complete surprise. This is TheDawn. Okay, TheDawn, written all one word, is a free game, believe it or not. So you can go ahead right now and download it on Steam free of charge. And it plays as great as it seems from the footage. This is a high-octane third-person shooter where your character has some pretty stunning time manipulation skills. She can create a big purple bubble that almost freezes time within. You can place that anywhere you want. Incoming bullets slow down for a second, allowing you to dash away. Another power kinda rewinds her movement to several moments ago, a good way to get out of a jam, and she has a very powerful gravity bomb that sucks in all enemies on screen. The powers coupled with the enemy designs, with flying creatures, enemies with shields and more, that will require you to move a lot, create a great gameplay here. The only issue is the length. The game is kinda short, but who can complain since it's free? Plus it's super hard, so it won't feel short at all. So yeah, try this one out, TheDawn. Next we move to the bonus section, where I place a few extra games that for one reason or another wouldn't fit the main list. First off is a game I already talked about, so that's why it's here, but it was in early access and now it's fully out and glorious. Mark of the Deep. This is a Diablo-like, rather well done in every possible way. Combat counts with a cursed blade and a flintlock pistol, as well as a dodge move and charged attack. The combat design and especially enemies designs are excellent, making for a great moment-to-moment gameplay. Same can be said about the exploration, which is meticulous and full of secrets. And this is not a roguelike. Many games with this camera angle nowadays are, but this is rather a full-on adventure with a Metroidvania feel to the map too. So yeah, Mark of the Deep, it's out, check it out. A nice little puzzle game that may be too simplistic for many is a Rite from the Stars. This is a point-and-click style puzzle game, remastered to also work with a controller. This is more about analyzing the environment to find solutions to the puzzles. So it's the typical thing, find one item to get another item to get another item. Here, for example, you need to find a knife to cut the bamboo pole, then use that to get the coconut up on top of the tree, and use that to bust open the vases, and then that's the item you need to get out of there. So yeah, that kind of gameplay. There's nothing flashy, nothing amazing, so I feel like many won't find it so attractive, but for a fan of point-and-click puzzlers, there is a good amount of fun to be had here for sure. This next one is a little bit too generic, but still a fun time. Death Elevator. Graphics are minimalistic and stylized, gameplay is in first person with adrenaline-filled action and a slow down time mechanic that allows you to even shoot incoming bullets. And that's the main gameplay idea, while the gameplay loop is roguelike. One hit, kill, and start all over. The gimmick may not be enough to set this game apart, but there is fun to be had here for sure. And next, a game I have reviewed recently, but I also wanted to add it here to get as many people to know about it as possible. This is great. Eternal Strands. Excellent game, guys, seriously. I've seen other reviews of it where they were lukewarm on the game and I cannot understand, or rather I do understand everything they said, like IGN and GameSpot. I just don't get how they arrive at a 6 or 7 score for it. But anyway, to me this is excellent, a true adventure full of awesome exploration. I'm still playing it, trying to get the platinum, which is real hard until someone puts out a map with all the fragments, which are real hard to find. And combat against the Colossi is superb, especially in the final part of the game with full access to the best armor and magic. So yeah, seriously, I had a blast with this. About 60 hours worth of great gaming for me. So yeah, do check it out, Eternal Strands. Next, I also already talked about this, so I'll be extra brief, and it's here again because it's on Kickstarter now. Alterium Shift. This is a pretty cool turn-based RPG. Cutscenes and story are well made. Exploration is also excellent. They're improving the graphics drastically with the Kickstarter, which is doing really well, by the way. So yeah, if you like a classic style turn-based RPG, consider giving it a push over there on Kickstarter. Next is a game in a series I covered almost entirely that provides a gameplay mix I was not expecting and was pleasantly surprised by. This is Yars Rising. The Yar series dates back to the Atari 2600 era, talking real old here, and was a top-down shooter with some particular mechanics. The later entries in the series tried turning it into a on-rails shooter that was on the Xbox 360, and I really enjoyed that. And on the next one, they went back to the arcade style in small stages with Yars Recharged, another fun game. And Rising has yet a different proposition. This is a Metroidvania light of all things, very light on the Metroidvania aspect actually. Not too much backtracking, with a more straightforward approach, but still that typical thing, big map, side scroller with lots of action including boss fights and a bit of hidden things around. The twist is the hacking mechanism, and that's where they pull from the classic Yar gameplay. These are minigame sections where you actually play a bit of the Atari gameplay, and it's really well made because it constantly changes, introducing new rules like the classic mechanism of nibbling the shields, new enemies with different behaviors and much more. So yeah, pretty cool mix of ideas with the Metroidvania and the Atari gameplay, and the voiceover and story are quirky and fun too. So yeah, pretty cool. This game was developed by WayForward, by the way, a good sign of quality there. So yeah, do check it out. Moving on to a blast of a game, heavily inspired on the WarioWare craziness of micro games, called Mindwave. This is currently on Kickstarter and with a demo out, which is a total blast. And this blew up, raising over $300,000. So yeah, this is just like WarioWare, but a bit more involved in the story part, with a lot of conversations between characters to get you to know this crazy futuristic world of Mindwave. The micro games are loads of fun and easy to understand quick, always presenting a different control scheme, like using the mouse, then WASD plus arrows, spacebar plus arrows, and many more combinations. So the types of micro games are really varied too. Excellent game for sure, can't wait for the full release. Next is an excellent shooter that just came out and a rare appearance of anything from this franchise here in the western side of the world. This is Macross Shooting Inside. First thing that hits you in this game are the constantly changing camera angles accompanied by transformations of your machine. These modify the gameplay significantly and keep things dynamic. There are side-scroller sections, top-down sections, free roaming with the robot-looking transformation, which are pretty cool, and even third-person over-the-shoulder sections, which are very hard. The second thing that hits you is the shooting itself, which is more focused on the missiles that require you to acquire targets rather than on the regular straight shooting. This is not super heavy on bullet hell situations. It instead focuses on a lot of enemies on screen moving around a lot, so the missiles are the main weapon to push them off. You have a good number of pilots and machines to choose from with varied stats and skills. The story is of course based on the animated series, which I know nothing about, but it seems pretty in-depth, so I'm confident fans of the series should enjoy. Macross is a very solid shmup, and it has physical options coming from Red Art Games, who were kind enough to provide me with a review copy. So yeah, if you're into shoot 'em ups, Macross is an excellent option. Next is a remarkable and very unique RPG called Into the Grid. What a different and bold game. In this one you are a hacker and moving in the grid is a whole cool gameplay in and of itself. There's a nice strategical side to this where you have to make a lot of choices. You can extract, exploit or rehash each node. There are many different items to use, and yeah, I realize this looks obtuse and overly complicated, but they provide a great tutorial here. Then come the fights, which are deck builder like, with a very cool system of filling in your virtual memory energy, which then allows you to dish out some powerful skills. The cards and its effects are once again very well explained, leading to a great feeling gameplay. Into the Grid is fantastic. Hard to explain, you gotta feel it for yourself, so do try out the demo and consider grabbing it once it comes out later this year. Next on the list is a great representative of the elusive stealth genre, Ereban Shadow Legacy. Okay, this is definitely underrated and underappreciated. It's the kind of game what you call a AA. Critics complain we don't have enough today, but then can't recognize the few that do come to exist. Ereban is a high production value third-person stealth adventure with a lot of platforming too, and all of it revolving around a well-implemented mechanism of blending into the shadows. The protagonist can literally disappear into the shadows, which brings the stealth gameplay to a whole new level, especially with the introductions of more stealth abilities that you can unlock, mainly to cause distractions. I do appreciate how enemies behave differently to a distraction. Like here, I set up a clone, and while one guard went to check, the other one stood still to keep guarding. This avoids an annoying problem common to other stealth games, where all enemies of the same kind will react the same way to any of your actions, because that can potentially prevent the player from getting enemies to move away from each other to make them more manageable, so this fixes that problem. The darkness mechanism is also used extensively in the platforming, which is in turn applied seamlessly in the exploration of the many sprawling areas in the game. Plus the main protagonist is very cool and story is creative. Real nice game here, not less than an 8 in my book, and highly recommended for stealth fans. And that's it for now, everyone. Hope you found some cool games here. Do consider supporting the channel via the value for value model. If you feel like you get something out of the channel, consider leaving a tip with the super thanks button down there, or joining the channel's Patreon. Thank you so much for all of you who already do. You effectively keep the lights on here. This has been From the Void. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.